Hi, welcome. It's time for my campaign update. And, I no longer do a town hall, but yeah. So, a campaign update. It is mid July ish in 2025. A year ago, this time, I guess, is when the assassination attempt was done on Donald Trump. And, it was still the running for president time. Now, I'm still a candidate for president. I have not conceded. As you know, I have my lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court. And, Trump is now acting as president, but as you know, there are votes that have gone uncounted, and there's just a lot of manipulation and fraud in the system. So I'm sort of waiting for the real election results to come out, and then maybe we can go forward as a country. But until then, we have the situation we have. And, Supreme Court, you know what you need to do there. Otherwise, I'm working on my Declaration of Independence, because if you read that document, our forefathers left us instructions on what to do when we're not being heard, and we are not being heard. So women are not being heard, certainly, in our country. And this is unacceptable. So there are different steps that are going to be going on over the next couple of weeks as far as declaring independence within the United States. But I'll get to that another time when I have more details. This has just gotten so involved for me, I have to say. I actually want to go over why I got into this in the first place. Why did I run for president? And this is my second time running, actually. I ran for president the first time back in 2020, and I had started with the Green Party, and then I left them, and they picked a male to be the presidential candidate in the 100-year anniversary of women's rights to vote. And I didn't like that. So I felt that it was important that women keep running, but all the parties were really pushing men. Okay, the Libertarians did have a female, so I felt as a female I should stay in the running. So I did. So I continued as a write-in candidate in 2020. And then the election went to Biden. And then and at that time, Trump was saying there's all this fraud in the system, right? And he discovered a little bit, and I discovered a lot. And but for some reason, my voice is not being heard, and nothing's changed in the system of voting and how we calculate it. So if there was fraud in 2020, there was fraud in 2024, is what I'm getting to. Now, Trump is in office, so he's not saying anything, but there is fraud in the system. It was also declared in 2022 by West Virginia's Secretary of State that there were over 380,000 wrong names on the West Virginia voters list. This is the registering to vote list, which has no checks and balances on it. And it's the main part of my argument why the election is fraudulent. But there are many other ways that the election can be fraudulent or is fraudulent that I haven't necessarily proved, but I think it's self-evident, and maybe there are others out there who have been able to prove it. But currently, so in between 2020 and 2024, I ran for Congress in West Virginia under the Republican Party, and then eventually I went write-in also because they picked somebody else, and I felt I had a better platform. So I continued to run, and I got some votes. I don't know if I got a lot of votes in 2020, but I definitely got some votes for Congress in West Virginia for 2022, and I know I got votes for president for 2024. So, which in 2024 I ran entirely as a write-in candidate. I was somewhat moving closely with the Republicans, but and the Green Party, but I wanted to see what it was all about if I ran without being in a party, and how much I could reach people, which I did. I don't think a lot of my votes were counted. I think a lot of them were thrown out, and this is unacceptable. But that's a different story. That's what the Supreme Court is working on. So, but why did I decide to run for president in the first place? Well, I was working on a project about peace. And I got to a point where I needed to start making some money at my work, at my artwork, and I thought, well, what is it more important to reach people and make them think, or is it more important to make money? And, making people think is, for me, much more important than making money, but I have to be a realist, and, you need money to survive, right? So then I said, well, what's more important, reaching people or bringing peace? Is it more important to talk about peace, or is it more important to bring peace? And my answer was to bring peace. And then the next thing was, is it more important to then the next question was, what job is the best job to have to bring peace? Because I was being an artist for peace, and that was having some success but no money. But I was bringing peace, and people were hearing me and feeling like they were contributing, but I wasn't getting the results. Peace wasn't there, and I wasn't making money. So then I realized the best job to have would be to be president of the United States, to bring peace around the world, and you get paid a salary for it. So I thought that was my that was something really a good target. And then I was being, a presidential candidate, and the closer I got, the more I realized that it's really true. This is the best job to have to bring peace, so I was in the right place. So far, I've only spent money. I haven't made any money, so that part's not quite working right. I don't know. I guess I'm doing something wrong, but I'm also not president. So anyway, that's why I got involved, was to not only make it apparent that war is not necessary. I mean, the planet is populated now. We have every piece of land is accounted for. So, it's not like we need to figure out or take over each other or anything like that. So it's really possible. Peace is really possible. And as a president, it's really the right job to have to bring peace. So that was my whole purpose, but the artist in me is still there, and I'm still trying to promote peace, leaving the world better, which is my motto. I started an artwork called Smile for Peace, It's Enough Already. And I was working with a couple of people I met at my Unitarian Universalist of Basel in Basel, Switzerland. And we were working on, something called Smile for Peace, It's Enough Already. And we had multiple ideas of how to go about it. I have to admit I've changed a lot of my thoughts since the starting of this, and maybe I'll go through it. This is a book that I have. It's a sort of a promotional book. It goes Smile for Peace. And that's another reason why I picked the song that I did for today, because it's called The Palestinian Smile is the song. And since I'm doing Smile for Peace, and I was collecting smiles for peace between the religious groups out there and the non-religious. And even in my collection, I do have one or two Palestinian smiles as well as Jewish smiles. And they're able to be together in artworks without causing wars and hate. And so I just, that's the whole thing, is to promote the idea of we can be together and be peaceful. We don't have to war. And there's just seems to be certain groups that continually think that they have more right to something than others, and they're not happy sharing. And this is unacceptable. So until we can have everybody realize we all deserve to be here, this is where we are. But yeah, so my artwork, which I had sort of already started, and then I got involved with these people from my Unitarian Universalist group there. We all kind of got behind the project, although this book only covers me and one of the main workers, helpers, Maude who helped me photograph my artworks from childhood up until then. And he was a photographer from Iran who was helping me work on this. I also like the fact that he was from Iran, because it started back in 2017 is when I started this work. And, I know the history between the U.S. and Iran, and I thought it would be a good combination to really have him working on the project and whatnot. He also had been living in Switzerland for like 19 years, and he tried to get many jobs while he was there, but nobody would hire him. So ultimately, I hired him to photograph my work and help me with the project for about a year. And then after that, I let him, I didn't have any more money to afford a helper, and all the photographs were done. So then we just stopped the financial connection. I do still have contact with him, and I believe that he's still helping me work on this project. I know he's still promoting me also on his website. And so, yeah, we're still somehow connected, but not fully anymore. I have moved back to the U.S., so we don't really have so much contact, although once in a while we are in Switzerland at the same place at the Unitarian Universalist meeting, and then we have contact then. But there was another guy involved, Matt, who's also from UU, and he's not in this book. He didn't have anything to do with producing it. But he was also working a lot with me, getting my piece artwork out there and everything. And I think he's also still somehow helping me a little bit with the art side. Switzerland and Basel especially is a good location for artists because of Art Basel and the influence there. So, I had some guidance and help, whatever. It was good. So anyways, let me go through my book here. Smile for Peace is how it starts. The other part of that is It's Enough Already. Art is by Maude and photos by Mehdi Yorandar. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so the title page reads Smile for Peace, Art Against Fanaticism, Smile Cloud. Then what I had decided with this project, because we were dealing with religions, was I wanted to go back to the concept of the first God, what that might look like, and then move forward to present day. I didn't get through the project entirely, so this is sort of a part one of the project. I guess I'm working on part two right now. But part one was the original God, then the skeptics, and then unleashing goddess. So goddesses then were part of the God worship thing, and then I Love Switzerland, and then there's biographies, the future, and thank you and contact. So what I will say is the thank you and contact part has changed too. But anyways, so again, it's art by me in my alternative name, which is Modern Art. And the photos are from Mehdi Yarndar. Art Against Fanaticism, Smile Cloud. So it's hard to see, but this is a smile cloud here. It's one that has some gems in it, and it turns sort of like a wind. The idea is to stormy cloud with smiles. I don't know if you can really see that. Maybe you can see some smiles there. Anyways, it gets more clear. Then, as he was photographing some of my work, this is one of my early cut paper ones that's part of my original modern artwork back in 1988, the cut paper. And this is actually Donald Trump from back then. And he's got, I think he's eating an airplane and got a boat under his arms, and I think there's a building in there. Sadly, I don't know where this piece of art is anymore. I don't know if it's in the U.S., if it came back here with me, or if it's in Switzerland, but it's somewhere. And he's got 2 glasses of champagne and whatnot, the high life. And, back then in 88, he was pretty much like the rich man in New York and all of this. And then I had a society hat that I had made for a smile hat that I had made for a event, a high tea that we were having with one of my women's clubs in Zurich, and Mehdi decided to put the 2 things together, and then we had a Mad Hatter. So Trump is the Mad Hatter. That's what that work is. Then Art Against Fanaticism, Smile Cloud. The Smile Cloud. Why? Because smile is the most powerful weapon against terror. A collage of true smiles taken by a simple camera in a smile cloud project. They uplift and inspire the participant and the viewer as it crosses over people's differences and unites them in the spirit of harmony. So I have to admit that the writing is written by, it's a combination. I had some ideas, and then Maude went in and changed some of the words. So I would say that is really a combination of his and my vision of what peace is and what living together in peace looks like. It's harmony. Then the original God. And I had these exhibited on a screen in New York City through an art organization out of Switzerland. And this was in 2018, I think. Called Original God, New York City, God, USA, in the beginning. And then these are the artworks that were on display. So in the beginning is very abstract smiles, just in patterns, and so that would be my vision of sort of the universe without form. Then form took place, and so you have the earth is the green earthy looking thing with smiles being collected, and you can see the name, I think, Maude art, and their smiles together. Still sort of outer space. Then the skeptics online. So, and I think it might still be online, but I'm not sure. It was with a photography club in Zurich. Yeah, and so I wasn't part of an exhibit, but I think I was not there in person, or maybe I had like one or two items there. I can't remember how it worked. But the skeptics online, World Wide Web, www. Which came first, God or man? So that's my question for everybody. There's a smile of a skeptic, of an atheist. See, so atheist smiles too. And then this is part of a Dada work that I did. And a lot of the Dadaists are also atheists. So, anyways, there's that. Then Unleashed Goddess. So then once I got out of the universe, and once I questioned what God was and who created God, then I got to the goddess worship, which was in existence, a long time ago. What better way to fight fanaticism than with goddess smiles? There are also Iranian women who fight for a bit more freedom through their smiles and their scarf, with their scarf on a piece of wood. So I don't think I actually have that in here. No. But I featured it elsewhere. Sadly, I don't have it here. But I have the Unleashed Goddess and the close-up of that. So the Iranian smiles I don't have here, but I do have an artwork with Iranian women's smiles. And it's during their protest about how they should be able to dress how they want. So this is some of my smile artwork. These are two-dimensional things mostly. The Dada thing is not two-dimensional. That's three-dimensional, and it's interactive. Then the next chapter is I Love Switzerland. Unity and diversity. Let's smile all together wherever we are coming from to celebrate peace and unity and recognize our diversity. So this is my philosophy 100%. Again, it's wording from both of us, me and Maude, working together. And the first picture is a little blurry, but it's discovering under the Dada smile skirt just for one more smile, and then looking forward to seeing people's smiles all over Switzerland. So I had this interactive artwork with smiles where you could go up and go under this Dada-esque smile cloud, and you could spin it, and then it would expand, and you could see even more smiles. So that's what you're discovering under the skirt. He calls it a skirt. I call it a cloud, but it's definitely fabric, and it could be seen as a skirt. And then this other one, this Swiss flag one, on the evening of the opening, or on any day, people were invited to write the word peace in whatever language they knew it in. And we ended up getting, I don't know, about 75 different versions, or, well, 50 to 75 different versions of the word peace written in different writing. It was very exciting. So that was exhibited at the American Women's Club in Zurich, and for the first time at this event, I Love Switzerland event. And it was really well received. And these are also smiles of all sorts of people: skeptics, Christians, Muslims, Jews, everybody all together happy. And it's on a mirror, so that you can smile too in real life in the middle, and then you're part of the smile cloud as well. Then smile clouds are going on. Then we have a three-dimensional one here, which is again a goddess one, the original goddess, the Venus of Willendorf. Unleash your Venus goddess is what that's called. That's sort of a combination work. The actual work doesn't exist in real life, but it was a combination of two things together. So, yes. And Topsy-Turvy Golden Girls. So at the American Women's Club in Zurich, they have women who have been in the club for a long period of time become Golden Girls. So I specifically asked them at one event to smile for my camera, and I got their smiles, and I made a special Golden Girl smile for peace, a smile cloud. It's two-dimensional. Unleashed Goddess, Zurich, Switzerland, opening. So the group show Colored Fever, that's what this was all about, and that's why I was using the word gold and blue and some other things in there, but this is me at the opening there. And then this was me in front of my very first sort of smile cloud that's two-dimensional. This was like the next step. Susan Maude Buchser-Lochocki, sometimes known as Maude in Art. That's what that says. So, and this book was produced, I want to say 2017, I think. Latest 2018. I don't know. Okay. And then this is a picture of Mehdi in I think we were at the Matterhorn, so Zermatt. I think that's where that happened. And there's biography information, but I'm not going to go into that. And then gallery. So yeah, so at the beginning there was a gallery 2 that I was starting to sort of get off the ground, but it never really got off the ground. This was the original plan. The gallery opening is part of a soft launch which occurred in year 1 across Switzerland. We kicked off the project in March in Zurich with a group show, Colored Fever, where we had two-dimensional smile cloud project works. Here I focused on women's smiles and the idea of the time when God was a woman. Says Susan, I focused on mixing the smiles of different religions and even non-religious in these works. One work had International Women's Smiles, another had American Golden Girls Smiles. Then, in support of Iranian Women's Wednesday White Scarf movement against mandatory covering of women in Iran, I created Forbidden Women Smile work, where I showed some smiles of Iranian women in public. For Iranian women, smiling in public is criticized by the Islamic fundamentalists, according to Mehdi Yondar, things that I've read online. In parallel, in New York, I was with the Art Box Gallery, more two-dimensional works, mixed men's and women's smiles, and finally online with the Photo Award website with atheists and skeptics smiles, because atheists and skeptics need to be included in this project too to be truly all-encompassing. So yeah, that's the Smile for Peace, It's Enough Already project. In May and June, we were part of another group show, I Love Switzerland, where I had some interactive works, and one looked like a Swiss flag. People wrote the word peace in whatever language they wanted, showing the diversity. And the other work simulated a hike at the Matterhorn, where you could blow smiles around in an artwork with famous mountain of Edelweiss mountain, with the famous mountain, so the Matterhorn, and Edelweiss. Lastly was an installation, a smile cloud that grew over time during the show and finished with the birth of the dove wing. In it are mixed smiles of people in Switzerland from all religious backgrounds. After the opening of the gallery in August 30th, 2018 in Adlisville, close to the city of Zurich, the next Smile Cloud exhibit takes place at the Mason International of Association in Geneva. And that, these were all really quite successful exhibits, I must say. Then, I ended up back in a banking building. So in Switzerland, what they're doing is old buildings that will be eventually renovated but are waiting for demolition. If it's usable, they rent it out. So I was in this place for, I don't know, I think 1 to 2 years, and I loved it. So here's where I was in the old banking, Cantonal Bank in Adlisville. Then in 2 years, we launched the Smile Labyrinth, which we never got to, inviting participants to experience the reality of our interdependence. A more intimate arrangement with both 2- and 3-dimensional smile clouds displays the clouds in the labyrinth installation intended to be places of worship, sort of like a house of religions type thing, art fairs and public spaces. The Smile Labyrinth provides a space for contemplation of ourselves as not only members of different groups and tribes, diversity, but more connected with the experience of ourselves as one humanity, unity. And I guess, this is, as I read this, I'm hearing some of my song words in here. I have a song now called We Are One, Smile for Peace. And it talks about being one humanity. So there we go. Let me read more. So the idea behind the Smile Labyrinth, why that didn't take off, was because I needed about $3 million to $5 million to get that organized. And I tried to get money from the National Endowments of the Arts, and I tried to get money from the Obama Foundation and the Gates Foundation. But to get money, you have to have a not-for-profit organization. And I didn't have one. So that was my big stumbling block. I needed money. And then as things went on, in year 3, we invite artists whose work is aligned with the message to partner with us and join us on a tour. So then I had to do my artwork as I could, and that's when I I guess, how can I say this? Yeah, so then I guess August 30th, so then I had to think about, I think I had to leave that space, and something came available in another town. So then I moved to the other location in Zurich, and then a whole bunch of 50th anniversary things were coming up. We had the 50th anniversary of Woodstock coming up in 2019, and we had the 50th anniversary of the lunar landing, because 69 was a big year of things. So then I moved, and then I got involved with those two things, and I planned this big, amazing event, which is part of year 3 of bringing together artists who are aligned with the message of, one humanity and unity. And we had a big show at Cabaret Voltaire in July 2019. And that, right after that, is when I then decided the best way to bring peace is to be president of the United States. But I have to admit, even running for president and running for office has introduced me and my ideas to the public and to the people in power. So even without being president, I have been influential in bringing about new ways of thinking, and especially about thinking about one humanity, and that diversity is okay, and we should embrace our diversity. So I had this exhibit all weekend long at Cabaret Voltaire in not New York City, in Zurich, Switzerland, and the home of Dadaism, and it was an amazing weekend. We had a lot of people come in and visit, and the experience was wonderful, I think, for all. Eventually, so then now the next part of this book is, eventually the collection of smiles will lead to a final smile cloud which will travel the world, inspiring peace and demonstrating that we are not so different after all. We can truly live with unity in diversity. So, there we go. There's that. And that. And yeah, so unity and diversity is our final goal. And I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to be president and promote peace was when I would go to these different meetings too around the world and meet with leaders around the world, I could photograph their smiles and include them also in my smile cloud. But, since I'm still not even president, I can't get their smiles this way, so I might have to go a back route and just organize personal gatherings where I can get people's smiles. I guess that's the next step. So if I can't get to be president, then I'll have to do that. But that's my goal. That was my purpose of getting in there, was to get smiles from the leaders for my artwork, to promote peace, and to bring peace to the world. So this was my goal for running for president. It's part of my artwork, actually, part of my Smile for Peace, It's Enough Already project. So the Smile for Peace project, Smile Cloud project, has a multi-year plan to promote experimental art events globally, presenting our deep belief in democracy and peaceful efforts against religious fanaticism, dictatorship, and fanaticism. And finally, offering the smiles of people from all walks of life as the most powerful and peaceful weapon against a culture of fear and terrorism. Then it says, thank you for your interest in this Smile Cloud project, Smile for Peace. To donate, organize a fundraiser, or find out more, contact us at, and then, but neither of these contact pieces are working anymore, this ways of contacting, so don't contact me there. Contact me through my website, susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, usa.com. And you know, when I started this project, I was thinking the USA was the good guy. And since then, I've realized that we're actually part of the problem. So, you know, I call upon Donald Trump to recognize Palestine as a country. And, you know, we talk about also China wanting to expand to Taiwan. Well, we're part of the problem there too, because we refuse to acknowledge Taiwan as its own separate nation. So we talk like we know it's a separate nation, but we don't declare it. So we are the USA, and our presidents are part of the problem. Don't let them tell you anything less. And then here, so don't write to these contact things here, but this is us. And there we go. Smile for Peace. Okay, yeah, so that's how it goes. This was the one that really started my Smile Cloud projects. Really started. I mean, technically, before that, I think I had my first Smile Cloud was produced in 2014 in Switzerland at a what do you call it? Like a business fair in a neighboring town, and I was invited to be one of the artists there. And I wanted to collect smiles of Swiss people and put them together, because Swiss people don't always smile. And I felt that, you know, smiling was good. It releases endorphins and makes you feel good. And a lot of times the Swiss people are so stressed out. I'm not quite sure why, but they are. And I think that part of their problem is they don't smile enough. So I was doing my public service and getting people to smile against bullies and the hatred that can be between people. It wasn't so much religious based, it was more smiles against bullying and fear tactics and stuff like that. Domination, you know. And I got 120 to 50 smiles. I wanted a lot more. Supposedly there were about 30,000 people at this event. Maybe 10,000 walked by and only about probably 500 stopped. So, you know, it wasn't, but it was my first Smile Cloud. And I think you can see I have photos of that online at my various Facebook pages, and I think even at my YouTube page, and also at my LinkedIn page. So you can see those there, some information about that. That started in, I think I created that, I believe it was 2014, September. It was live in Switzerland, interactive all weekend long event where every day I would then go home and print out the pictures and come back the next day and put them up and watch the smile cloud grow. And then I finalized it in, I think, December of that year. And then I tried to start one online that didn't take off. But then I started doing, it was 2015, or maybe that was, no, I think that was in 2015, and then in 2016, at the beginning, I was looking for something to do, and I realized it was the 100-year anniversary of, this is what got me into anniversaries, of Dadaism. And so then I got on the bandwagon with the Dada group, because there was a big event going on in Zurich, Switzerland about Dadaism. And I went around the country and promoted it at various events. And then I had my mock election sneak peek at my Dada cloud. And that was on November, whatever election day was in the U.S. in 2016. So I had everybody voting between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton there. It was a lot of fun. We got relatively good turnout, I think. And so that was sort of my step into the real political arena then. And the next year is when I started this project, 2017. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the Smile Cloud history and my Smile for Peace history. And peace got me into running for president. And then once I decided to run for president, I had to have a platform. And I had been to the UN in Geneva a couple of times, but most recently I was there for a women's event where they were giving an evaluation of the state of womanhood around the world, and it didn't look good for mothers. And that's when I realized, mothers need to be paid for their work. We pay men, we got CIA, FBI, NSA, we got Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, we got Secret Service and U.S. Marshals, we got Coast Guard, we got Border Patrol, we got police, we got sheriffs, we got security everywhere. So men have lots of jobs. And they're paid for them. All of those men that I just described get paid. But women and men want us to have children, but they don't pay us. There's no pay. Where's the pay? Where's the education? Where's the training? No, nothing. So that's when mothers, the concern for mothers and being treated fairly and seeing motherhood as a career and all womanly arts, prostitution and grandmahood and all of this, caregiving, these all need to be paid and taken seriously. Our work is just as important as being a protector. So, So that's when my platform then changed to this. And so though peace and motherhood were my main platform works, but then when I got into it, then I discovered all the fraud just in the election system itself. And that's when I became like really a fighter against corruption in the systems. And we cannot go forward and correct ourselves until we get rid of the corruption. So that's what now I've been working on, but in behind the scenes, the other things are still awaiting. And, I'm doing my best to be an influencer now. and I have my 501k, so not 501k. I have my not-for-profit set up, so I can get money. But I don't have time to get money because I'm fighting crime now. So, that's how you get to where you get, That's the life of an entrepreneur, artist, experimental artist. You got to go and keep going. So all these things are still going on, but it's one step at a time. And I never imagined myself here where I am, but it is the right place to be. And I think right now I'm consider myself an influencer online, and I'm still a candidate. I think I'm very qualified to be president, and yet I'm still also my artist self. So, yeah, that's how it goes, folks. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if gallery is still going on either, but that's a whole another thing. So I think I'm going to start a gallery called By All Means Possible, because that's what life is all about, If you're going after peace, you got to go about it by all means possible. If you're going out for getting mothers paid for their important work and contribution to our world, then it's all means possible. The worst thing is, I don't see any monuments to motherhood around. I don't really, there's very few, if there are any. And I don't see a lot of monuments to mothers that lost their lives. We got all this stuff about men who lost their lives for whatever. But what about women? Nothing is out there. Unacceptable. So that's my mission. Motherhood is a career choice, and it needs to be paid. Corruption is unacceptable. We need to get rid of it. Peace is possible, but we got to get rid of the dictators. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this campaign update. All means possible. That's what I'm doing. It's the All Means Possible gallery. Okay. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I hope it made sense. And I wish you also the possibility of your voice being heard and be an influencer. If you want to find out more, my website is susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me through the website. Okay. Take care.